All right, everyone, welcome to another episode of the Left Wing Live. John, how you doing today, my man?
Doing good. I've already seen the title of this episode, and I am prepared to talk about some high-level marketing techniques as a marketing professional myself, TJ.
Oh, so I got to get your opinion on this as someone in the field and everything. I so the title I think was Donald Trump. What did I say? Donald Trump
Continues to fleece gullible racists, and we love him for
We
it.
love him for it, folks. Look, I'm not mad at Trump at all. Every time I see him come out and hawk, a Trump $2 bill, a Trump teddy bear, a Trump gold coin, a Trump fake credit card, a Trump Bible, I just sit back and applaud, man. I got to recognize the game in that, because if you have people dumb enough to continue buying your shit and you're going to get basically free money, why not? And I can't think of a better group of people to take it from, fuck them.
Exactly. It's just like, I don't wish for these things to be done to people, but if they're going to be done to people, it might as well be people who deserve it. And if you want to spend your well-earned money on a Trump, what are they, trading cards this time? What is the newest shtick from Donald Trump?
Yeah, it's trading cards again. This is his third time doing this, I think.
It's crazy. Like, if people want to go do that, fine, go do that. The question I have is for the people who don't want to do that and recognize how much of a it's not even a scam, TJ. Like,
it's not a scam.
Donald Trump is a man who has done many scams. This is not a scam. This is, hey, you want something with my face on it? Here you go. Give me money. It's dumb, but it's not a scam. It's honest commerce.
I think it might be. I have a slight theory that this might be a bit of a scam. I just like the faintest hint of a scam. And we should tell people what we're talking about. So hold on, let's see if the commercial will play, honestly, while we're at this here. Let's see. All right. I was very happy to see this commercial. Man, was it last night or this morning? I can't remember. But Donald Trump.
I saw it yesterday.
Okay, so yesterday, yeah, Donald Trump. This is his third time, I believe, doing this. But let me know if you can hear this, John.
Nope.
Damn it. I don't know what. I gotta talk to the StreamYard people about what constitutes sharing screen and how it will work. Let me see. Let me try another one here. Nope, entire screen will just. I'll give it one more shot. That's really disappointing.
While we wait, Daniel says that we need a GoFundMe. I want the collar part of his suit on my card.
All right, let me know if you can hear this.
Still no. Technical difficulties, people. Don't you love them?
I don't know what's going on. Like, what causes something to play and not? Because, well, anyway, Donald Trump is at it again, and he's selling digital trading cards, and they're NFTs. And I have to say, John, I don't understand NFTs still. I've seen people try to explain them to me. I don't understand how they have any actual value, or I don't even get crypto. I try to get that too. And I know that it's unique. Like, it's the only thing that exists, like with that code or whatever that you own, but it only has value if someone else will take it. And why would they? I just don't get it. I don't understand that. But anyway, it's an NFT, but it's really it's a picture of Donald Trump as Captain America, or Donald Trump as an astronaut, or Donald Trump as a cowboy or whatever. And I think that it's $99.99 for one of these images. Like, you can screenshot and keep for yourself. And if you order 15 of them, he will send you a physical trading card, like an actual trading card with Donald Trump's picture on it, along with a cutout piece of the suit he wore when he debated Joe Biden. And for the low price of $1,500, you can get a card with a piece of the suit that he wore. And the reason I say that I think that it might be a bit scammy is not that it's nothing illegal about selling these NFTs or selling the card. I think that it's a way he launders campaign funds from people who've maxed out. That's the only thing that makes sense to me, because you can create these cards infinitely. They cost you $0.00. And if you have some donor who wants to give individual amounts of money to Trump over is it $3,500 or $7,000? I can't remember which is which. And but if they maxed out on it, buy a shitload of trading cards. It's not a campaign donation anymore. You just give it straight to Trump. That's my wild theory.
That probably is it, that it counts as a separate financial.
Yeah, it's just a regular
income.
transaction at that point.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably the reason he does it. Although, I mean, part of me just wants to believe that, like, this man's a huckster. He's a shyster. He just lives for this stuff.
He'd be doing this if he wasn't running for president. He'd be selling these shitty trading cards. Yeah,
exactly. So, like, I honestly, like, I don't even know if there's like a strategic value in this, other than someone's like, yo, Donald, you want to sell these? And it also, like, makes him feel good about himself. It's a real double whammy for things Trump likes to do. So I do think that he would be doing it whether the presidential campaign existed or not. I did want to talk about, because you're like, I don't get NFTs.
I don't.
And so crypto, and I'm no expert. Crypto has functional value. Like there are arguments to be made for the existence of cryptocurrency, that it is functionally different from normal currency. In order to understand NFTs, TJ, you first have to go back to 1634.
Here we go.
For the Dutch tulip bubble. Have you ever heard of this?
Yes,
TJ?
yeah, I'm aware of the tulip craze, and like tulips became worth more than gold.
Exactly. In 1934, the Dutch were just the economic powerhouse of the world. They were buying tulips, and they became the first known speculative bubble. The tulips were worthless. They were just flowers, but people thought they had value, and so certain people, wealthy people in Deutschland. What is even the Dutch? Is the Dutch the Netherlands?
The Dutch is the Netherlands. Yeah, Germany.
Okay, I've always got, but like Deutschland, that's Germany.
Like Deutschland should be the Dutch.
Exactly, right. But they basically just pumped and dumped this. They're like, hey guys, if you buy tulips now, they're going to be more expensive. They're going to be more expensive later on. You can sell them, and this created the first speculative bubble in history, where a tulip was worth more than gold. And it obviously collapsed, like all speculative bubbles do, and that's exactly what NFTs are. There's absolutely no difference between the Dutch tulips and the NFTs. It's a speculative investment that doesn't actually carry any value whatsoever. It's just a fancy thing with the blockchain that people get obsessed with for whatever reason, and it's over now. Like we are in the tail end of the bubble. It's dead. It's gone forever. They're not coming back. Like the only people buying NFTs now are just old people who want to buy a thing with Trump's face on it, and they're like, "Ooh!" And an NFT makes me feel young because I'm tech savvy.
Well, so with me, where I get confused is for the crypto specifically, unless that's a different category as NFTs. It's the same. They're both blockchain, right?
They're both blockchain. Yeah.
So. Where this is what people tuned in for.
Watch two guys who barely understand blockchain discuss what blockchain is.
So this is where I get confused. So the tulip had some value, like intrinsic value, like it's a flower, like it's pretty, and people want to own flowers. Like I got that, and so because nothing has like intrinsic value, I guess it's whatever you assign to it. But crypto isn't like that. It's a currency. And that's the part where it falls apart to me, because you can use it to buy stuff like drugs on the dark web or something like that. But like, why? Like, why would you do that? I don't understand that part, because you're trading it for something, but the thing you're trading doesn't have like any recognized value outside of whoever wants to take this. It's not like the US dollar. Like the US dollar is going to have value because it's fiat, because the government says so. But you create your own, TJ bucks or whatever, and that's going to have value with whoever will accept that. And that's where it seems to fall apart to me. I don't understand.
And you've wandered into the very, very fun world of the competing interests of cryptocurrency, because the main argument for cryptocurrency is it's a decentralized economic system. You get money out of the hands of the government. The amount of crypto there is the amount that will always exist. You can't print more Bitcoin. And it's just divvied up and sold more. And as one Bitcoin becomes more valuable, suddenly we are now trading thousands of a Bitcoin instead of hundreds of a Bitcoin, and that is the economic and philosophical argument for using a cryptocurrency. It also is more secure than normal currency. Like it's harder to commit fraud with it because it's part of the blockchain. Can't make fake cryptocurrency. It just won't work. So those are the arguments for cryptocurrency, and the arguments against using it are is it takes a shitload of energy to even maintain, and that's dumb. But that's a whole other thing. But the problem is that argument is destroyed because so many people who now have Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, they want the government to make it official, like I believe El Salvador did. And because in doing so, it becomes a fiat currency and the value of it skyrockets. So everyone who owns crypto is incentivized to want the government to make it a fiat currency, which completely defeats the purpose of its existence in the first place.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's dumb. It's dumb.
And I'm
sure it'll happen at some point, but not now.
See, I didn't know that. I didn't know that they were working towards making this an accepted currency by like an official state.
Some people aren't. Like it's like the housing market where like people who have houses, well, they want the government to stop people from building them, and people who don't have houses want the government to build more houses, and it's just conflicting interests.
Yeah, it's a weird catch-22 because I can get it would be good, like especially if you want to buy illegal stuff, it would be great to have a currency that wasn't government controlled. However, if you want this to be practical in any sense, it kind of needs to be government controlled. But then again, just use regular money at that point, and if it's going to be government controlled in the first place. But yeah, I was just very lost and confused by that, and I just never really got any interest in it. And yeah, I'm glad I didn't. It seems weird.
I hope my cryptocurrency for dummies spiel here was educational for some people.
Oh, one more thing. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say that maybe this is all bullshit too. Like this is just what I have learned through osmosis from being around crypto people. And doing a little bit of research on it. I am by no means an expert and do not seek financial advice from one John Cooper. But that is my caveat here. Go ahead.
I thought of one more thing. I write it down real quick. I remember watching this video. You know Gary Vee? You ever see him?
I know Gary Vee.
Yeah, I know. I haven't seen him in a while actually, but I remember him talking about the value of NFTs, and he gave this example where he said, so imagine you had like a Jackson Pollock or whatever painted something, and the painting itself has value, and obviously, but let's say you owned an NFT that was assigned to the paint buckets, and so you would have this NFT that was like you didn't need to have the actual paint bucket, but the NFT is assigned to that paint bucket. So that paint bucket is yours, and you can keep that NFT, and over the years you can it'll accrue value and you can sell it, and that's the value of NFTs. And I was like, that's stupid. You could like just buy the paint bucket. Like what's the NFT there for? That was the example he gave. Like it was this brilliant thing. I said, I watched the video like 3 times. Like, no, he said the NFT is assigned to the paint bucket. It just seems like an unnecessary in-between step to the actual appreciating asset. And what you mentioned there about how, so like Bitcoins, they mine them. They have machines, like warehouses full of these machines that like crack these algorithms to unlock Bitcoins. But there's a fixed amount, like you said, that whatever number they have, there's not going to be any more. And which means that, the value of one Bitcoin is a lot more stable. And this is the problem. So this is the problem that the United States ended up running into. I remember reading about this for the 1800s, that before like the civil rights era, it's interesting to see what the dividing lines were between the political parties, because now it's mostly cultural stuff and a little economic stuff. But before, it's things that you would have never guessed would have divided the country. And there was this huge divide between hard and soft money in the 1800s. And it's exactly what you were talking about, is that a lot of people wanted hard money. So they said, okay, we want our money backed by gold and absolutely nothing else. So all the gold that the United States has in the reserve, that's how much money we have. And then you have people that said, well, we want it backed by hard money, but backed by gold and silver. And so it expanded the money supply, having 2 sources. And then you had people that said, that's ridiculous. We need soft money, because why would you put a cap on exactly how much money can circulate in the United States? Because that's gonna, now people can't borrow. People are gonna have a hard time investing. And yeah, it ended up falling apart because it is. I think it is kind of absurd to say that.
DJ, yeah. This is always my argument for it. What if a meteor full of $12 quadrillion worth of gold
Yes.
landed somewhere, suddenly all of our money is absolutely worthless.
Worthless, yeah. And that's and this is, I hear this all the time. You see, I'm sure you see this all the time, where people say stuff that they think just sounds smart. It's just really, or it's like, yeah, we need to get back to the gold standard. No, the fuck we don't. That's insane. It's like, and I get why people say that, because gold is an actual object that you can count and you can actually measure.
It's such a Dunning-Kruger thing.
It is.
It's you're right there. You're thinking hard, bro, but you're really not thinking about anything else.
And it's kind of counterintuitive to accept, well, this dollar is worth $1 because the government says it is. I can see why that's uncomfortable to people. I can see why they're a little shaky by that. But like what gives the U.S. dollar a lot of power? One of the main reasons is like the petrodollar. That like Saudi Arabia, you have to buy their oil in U.S. dollars no matter who you are. So that gives the dollar a lot of power. And what really gives the power is that the United States government, only if you want to pay taxes to the government, they will only accept U.S. dollars. You cannot pay them in gold, silver, platinum, whatever. You can't. They will only accept dollars. So as long as the United States government exists, that dollar will have value. That's a lot more secure, because there's not going to be an asteroid dropping another United States on the on the planet. So yeah, it's actually more secure than people think. It just sounds insecure.
Yeah, and I always love to just think about how fucked we would be if we had kept the gold standard.
I know.
Like, if we were unable to expand the money supply, and like people hate that the government does this, and like I get the hate. Like I genuinely sympathize with your hate that the government has so much control over the economy. But do you know what's worse than that? No control over the economy. I would rather someone have control than to just have it be whatever, have it be the Wild West. And I circling this back, I think this kind of says a lot about why NFTs and blockchain crypto kind of become popular at a more like basic, capitalist to communist economic spectrum level, because what these NFTs do is they create a scarcity on something that was previously infinite. And when a capitalist mindset person hears that, the money symbols just start spinning their eyes for Mr. Krabs. Because think about video games. I play a lot of video games. I've never been one to like buy cosmetics. I've never understood the point. But hey, a lot of people like that sort of thing. And if they like that sort of thing, more power to them. They want to go buy for a special skin for their Fortnite character, go ahead. I have no problem with that. But that's an infinite resource, and you can't commodify it afterwards, because you purchase a thing, you have it, you can't share it, you can't whatever. NFTs make that one unique item in the virtual world. So if you can wrap your mind around why someone would want a virtual item and pay money for it, like in a cosmetic in a video game, now you make that cosmetic a unique item that has a scarcity that can then be speculated upon. And suddenly everything in the digital space becomes an asset, becomes a piece of property like land. There are literally like video games you can play on the blockchain that have like a specific amount of land that gets sold off and like you can build on it. And it's the dumbest thing in the world. But these plots of digital land go for thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And it's really just people with that capitalist mindset convincing themselves that everyone else thinks this way.
Yeah.
And the problem is most people don't.
Yeah, nobody thinks that way. Yeah.
The ceiling is only so high. And every single time you hit that ceiling, the bubble comes crashing down. Maybe one day that won't be the case, but it certainly goddamn isn't today.
There are people who have definitely bought into the Tina principle. There is no alternative to capitalism. And they think, well, we're just going to recreate capitalism in a digital sense, like it is in the physical sense, which is kind of absurd. Because we use this example too, that if we all just popped into existence, tomorrow morning, like no, we're just billions of people standing around. we wouldn't like capitalism would not be the first thing we try. It would not be the first. Like, we wouldn't be like, hey, all right, we need to have a couple people who are in charge of everything, who own almost everything. We're all going to work for them. They get our surplus. No, that's insane. Like, that's not like the natural human condition, but people have really convinced themselves that it is.
It's funny because I saw a tweet kind of similar to what you're saying recently, where it was like, yeah, no, like if you would have shown capitalism and the systems that be to, someone working in pre-agricultural times, they would have just killed you.
Yeah.
But that's not because they were like savage barbarians or anything. We were actually a more peaceful species before we settled down and had agriculture, because we just foraged. It didn't actually take that much time. We didn't have much working hours. It was like 15 hours of work a week to get the food that we needed to survive. And we just kind of chilled the rest of the time and conserved energy. But then we started planting agriculture. And when you plant agriculture, you have to be stuck in one location. And if that agriculture gets destroyed or stolen, you die. And so then the people who were able to protect the agriculture suddenly became in charge of everything. And that's when you got eventually kings and feudalism and all of this. And I remember when I saw that tweet, it was like, oh, well, capitalism made us so much better. Like, it's way better than feudalism or whatever. And that's like the fucking thing I hear all the time in defense of capitalism. It's like capitalism has brought more people out of hunger and poverty than any other economic system before it. And it's like, congratulations, bro. You beat feudalism.
You're better than feudalism.
Wonderful job. We cannot do any better. We have obviously hit the peak of mankind's ability to develop economic systems. And it's such a dumb argument. It really just pisses me off. It's like you can't possibly think you're being intellectually honest by suggesting that capitalism must be the best we can do because it beat out fucking feudalism, man. Like, that's insane.
Yeah, I mean, they genuinely believe that 100,000 years from now, we will still be using capital. It's like, come on, folks. Like, you can't be that lack imagination.
Did you see Elon Musk tweeted today that we should make Star Trek?
I know. And
I was just like,
no,
it's communism, bro. Like, you just said we should have a communist society. I hope you understand this.
I'm gonna write down communism and Star Trek. I'll get to that. But before I leave this topic here, so I heard a great joke. Not a joke, but a meme or something. It said, feudalism, it's your count who votes. And I thought that was pretty funny. And then another thing with feudalism, was oh shit. That's anyway, I can't remember. But anyway, what you were talking about, I should have wrote that down too. I wrote down the wrong one. But with the hunter-gatherer thing, though, like before agriculture, it was a more cooperative society. It wasn't as reliant on taking other people's labor. It was like, and you didn't have to work a whole lot. You needed as much food as you needed for the day, and then you could relax. You could spend time with your family. But it was a more violent society. It actually was a lot more violent. I mean, it's wild, like, because the way they measure it is by seeing a skull pop, or graves and everything of societies that lived in caves and stuff like that, and saw how many of them were like holes through the head that were human-made objects, and measuring them to hunter-gatherer societies today, the murder rate is astronomical. It's something like 20.
I have heard the exact opposite of that.
No, so it's like 20% of people who lived in hunter-gatherer society died by murder. It is insanely high. Like, it is wild.
I'm gonna do more research because I have read the exact opposite of that from trusted sources. So one of us is wrong.
Okay. All right. This is just like the first thing that the Google machine pulled up. Let me see. Once again,
because while you're reading that, I'll just say I read a book called Humankind, and highly recommend it to everyone. But it's a book about how a lot of our preconceived notions about how humans are naturally maybe evil are actually very wrong. And most of the reason that we survived as a species, look at the Neanderthals, they were stronger, they were smarter than us, but we stuck together and we could communicate better, and we had empathy, which allowed us to out-survive Neanderthals. But let me see, 25% of modern hunter-gatherers die from homicide. You know what, guys? We are going to put a pin in this.
Yeah,
because this is
it's Now, I heard that too about the Neanderthals and everything,
Mhm.
and the human beings. Because yeah, Neanderthals were stronger than us. They had like thicker bones, and they carried heavier muscles. But their societies were a lot smaller too. They were less social than we were, and so I don't think there's any argument that Homo sapiens were extremely social and helpful. But we're also like one chromosome away from being chimpanzees, and we see how violent they are, and so it's kind of wild to see that. And another way we outcompeted Neanderthals was they were bigger than us, but they were shorter. They had not it wasn't much they were shorter, but they had shorter leg proportions, so they couldn't run as fast or as far as we could. And while this is a weird thing too, so all right. This is a weird episode, but
This is
all
a
right,
weird
so,
episode.
This is a weird fucking episode. All right, so I would always wonder this when I would go deer hunting, with the fellas back when I was a kid in November in Missouri, and we would, shoot the deer and stuff. And I always wonder, it's like, man, how were people hunting deer or any animal for that fact with spears and sharp rocks and bows? Like, how are they doing this? And then I remember learning this that with humans, we are very slow compared to most prey animals, but compared to every other animal, basically, we can beat them in a long distance run. That deer will sprint away from you, but you jog long enough, you will wear the deer out. It's like, holy I didn't know that. I had no idea, because I sure as hell wouldn't do something like that. But I guess you did if you had to. But that's another way we outcompeted Neanderthals, because they had shorter leg proportions, so they weren't able to do that as well as we were. I mean, there's other things too, but
it's incredible how just consistency over a long period of time can accomplish so many things.
I never would have guessed that.
You can apply that to like the micro level of your life, or you can apply it to the timeline of our species. Like, it definitely is a valuable skill set.
It would be a good episode one time to talk about the different types of humans that existed over time. It's kind of a bummer they're all gone, but us, like the Hobbit people, like and the Denisovans, like that existed at the same time. That's the wild part too, that Neanderthals and us were the last ones, and they left like 30,000 years ago. But there was like 7 or 8 different hominid species, like different species of humans living all over the planet at the same time. It's pretty crazy.
I would love like an alternate, like that. I feel like every alternate history, like nonfiction, is like, what if Hitler won, or like what if Confederates won?
Boring shit like
one
that.
where just like, what if there was another species of human? Like another subspecies. That would be an awesome world. Like someone who can write books, go write that for me. I want to read.
We'd have ultra racism. We would have so much fucking racism, man. It would be.
Or maybe we wouldn't. Maybe because another type of human exists, like there would be no
No, that's what I mean. Yeah, it would be like
interhumanity racism, and eventually, because you only have 2, eventually you because we keep just inventing more ways to like be racist.
Yeah,
like Irish people we used to be racist against them, but they're just white now.
They're just white now, yeah.
So like, but if there's just like 2 obvious distinct ones, you'd spend thousands of years just fighting each other, and then eventually you got to put
someone's got to win, and money's on us. But we did it last time. No reason we can't do it. But yeah, it would, if there were like 7 species of humans, we would be fighting all the time. There would be like little enclaves of it'd be like Lord of the Rings, just different groups of humans all over the place and fighting against each other. It'd be a cool book to read. I wouldn't want to live in this universe though. But yeah, it is sad that they're all gone. But it's funny to look at that and see, where I don't know. It's did you ever see about chimps and bonobos and how they evolved on different sides of so I think they evolved on different sides of the Congo River, I think is what it was. And on one side of the river, it was just lush and filled with food and like no predators. It was heaven basically for these primates. And they evolved into bonobos. And bonobos are a matriarchal society. Bonobos are notoriously, non-violent and peaceful. They fuck all day long and they just like lay out in the woods, sleep on their backs and shit. Just like the coolest species imaginable. On the other side of the Congo, the resources were scarce and it was filled with predators. And that's where chimps evolved. And chimps are more violent than we are, and that is really saying something. Like you see, which chimps actually go to war. They're like the only animal species that like build packs, and then go take on other ones to conquer their territory. And we evolved on that side too. So humans and chimps a lot more violent than the bonobos are. But damn, it could have been smooth sailing if we didn't have just evolved a few hundred miles on the other side of that river.
I know. Scarcity is it's a hell of a drug, TJ.
It is.
It's really the problem with all things.
True.
Circling back to NFTs. That's exactly what NFTs are. They're creating scarcity out of nothing.
Yeah, it's true. What's been on your mind, John? How things are going for you?
I don't know. I've been thinking a lot about immigration recently. I've had a lot of takes on that. I really, to the Kamala Harris glow honeymoon. It's starting to die. Yeah, starting to die. I'm starting to be like, God, fuck. I don't
do the election already. Let's go.
Like today, she's I don't know if it was today, but I read the story today that she's going to keep building the border wall. Which, TJ, why are we doing this? This one really blows my mind because in 2016, Trump said, "Let's build a wall." And everyone laughed at him, rightfully so, because it's dumb. It's a dumb idea for a litany of reasons that are even obvious to dumb people. It didn't work. We know it didn't work because now he wants to do mass deportation, which is basically admitting that his border wall didn't work. And the Democrats have just continued building this fucking wall. And I don't understand why. It seems to be an easy political move to just nuke the fucking wall, just knock it all down, like do a photo op. Why do we keep doing this?
So I don't know the details of what she said about the wall. So when Trump came out in 2016 and said build the wall, my first thought was there's already plenty of wall down there. I've seen the southern border. There's giant walls everywhere. And Trump's whole pitch was he wanted to build a ridiculous ass wall across the entire southern border, over public and private property, over water. It was stupid. It made no sense. It was a cartoon fantasy of a wall. And when he got in, there's like a couple 100 miles he did, but most of it was just patching up old wall. And
TJ, I'm sorry. I'm just thinking that he watched Game of Thrones and was like, that's what I want.
Yeah, basically. And people believed it. People were like, Mexico's going to pay for it. There'll be a giant wall. And so it's a ridiculous shit. So when he actually got into office, he keeps, I think it was 200 miles of wall, but 180 miles of it was already there. We already have a significant border wall presence. And that's been, no one had a problem with it until Trump said, I'm going to build this giant one, which is never going to happen. So I don't know what Harris said. Did she say, well, yeah, the border wall projects that are already going on, we're going to keep going, or she's going to add to it? I don't know what she meant. I didn't look into it.
I think it was, let me see. So if she's elected president, Kamala Harris pledges to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on this wall along the southern border, a project she once opposed and called un-American during the Trump administration. It's the latest example of Harris, blah, 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 blah. This doesn't have actual freaking quotes. So I don't know. But she's going to continue the projects that are currently
that's so I'd like to see that, because that would be my guess. I have a hard time imagining she would we're going to pack on 100 more miles of wall. That would be weird to say. But with her doing this, it is still a right-wing coded thing to say in the first place, and because how it's been sullied by Trump saying it. But she's been doing stuff like this the last week or so, honestly, ever since her speech at the convention, where she's, I think you brought up Mitt Romney's quote with the Etch-a-Sketch with, so she's kind of doing that. And, it was coming. It just had to, because no one gets their nomination and then continues to move left or continue. It's just that. That's not a thing that ever happens in general elections. So it was coming. It's just that it is disheartening to see. What did you think? Have you seen that she's doing that debate on CNN? Not debate, but the
interview.
The interview on CNN. I saw that she was doing it with Tim Walz, and my first thought was, why? Why are you doing that? I because one complaint that Concerned has been putting forth for the last month now is that she has not sat down for a one-on-one interview with any of the major networks. And she said, I will do one. I'll do it in August. And I said, okay, she's got to do this because it was becoming a thing. You don't want to give them a thing. You don't want to give them a narrative. You don't want to give them ammunition. And then she came out and said, well, yeah, I'm going to be doing it with Waltz. I was like, what? Why? You don't need to do that. Like, and then I've seen all these people showing clips of like, well, Obama did an interview with Biden, Trump did one with Pence, Trump did one with Vance. All right, great. But like, I'm glad to see it. But the narrative was being built that she doesn't want to sit down. Whether the narrative is true or not doesn't matter. You have narratives are built on perception, not on reality. And I wish you would have quashed the narrative because that's going to stick with her until she finally does the one-on-one interview. And who knows when that's going to happen? And you don't want them to browbeat you over the head with it like that. It's an easy thing to beat. You can sit down for an interview. It's not that hard.
So I'm going to circle because there's a couple things I want to address here. Mm-hmm. One, because we never actually discussed the DNC speech. I thought it was okay. I really hated the fact that she said she was going to sign the border bill because why the fuck would you commit to doing that if you have a chance to take the House and the Senate? It makes me feel like you think this bill is good instead of a compromise position to make Donald Trump look bad. Mm-hmm. And it is very concerning to me. In fact, I saw a poll today that 55% of Americans now think that we should have less immigration, which it was for the first time ever in as recently as 2020. More Americans thought we should have more immigration than less immigration. And the Biden administration just fucking bulldozed that by continuing to move right on this issue. Now, not everyone, but the majority of Americans are now far-right Republicans 20 years ago when it comes to immigration. And it really fucking sucks. I don't agree that you have to do that in order to win. Yeah. I do think that a pro-immigration candidate could do a lot, just like an anti-immigration Joe Biden just completely shrunk support for immigration within the Democratic Party. Yeah. The opposite could have the opposite effect. Anyway, just wanted to say that.
Oh, I'm out going to pull this
down. What was the last thing you just talked about?
I was talking about the interview.
The interview, yes. With the interview thing, I think if there is something real to her not wanting to, it just seems like a dumb thing that like
it is a dumb
feel
thing.
Comfortable doing an interview on her own because she can't, like she can talk.
Of course she can. Yeah,
I've seen her talk off the cuff. Mm-hmm. She's clearly better at it than Biden, and they let him do this shit.
I know.
It doesn't make sense to me that like there's real fire to this smoke. And I think that what really it is hey, we had to put together a campaign within weeks, and certain things got prioritized, certain things didn't. One-on-one interview prep was not prioritized. We prioritized getting ready for the launch, getting everyone coalesced together. This was a second order priority. And now she's starting to do them. She's obviously got, and when they started doing the debates and we're doing all this kind of at the same time, it makes sense. These things go hand in hand. So I don't think it's because of inability on Kamala Harris's part. I think it's just a truncated campaign and you can only prepare for so many things at once. And this is when she's doing that. And she's doing it with Waltz because, again, truncated campaign, and Waltz has really fucking high approval rating. So
he does.
Not include him in the first one. I don't think it's anything. And you're right. There's a narrative there, but I don't think anyone outside of conservative Twitter has even thought about this. You know what I mean? Like, who really fucking cares? She's going to do one-on-one interviews. The normally Americans won't even think about this in November.
Yeah, and the debate's like a week and a half away. That'll crush anything like that.
That'll completely take
forget all about
I'm not worried about this bill unless it's real. If it's real for whatever reason, then we're fucked either way. So I don't need to consider that as an option. We just got to Kobayashi Maru that.
It's like what got me is that for the first 2 years of Harris's vice presidency, 3 years actually, yeah, I was always criticizing how bad she was in interviews. I remember like she was terrible, and so she doesn't have to be though, because like you've seen her in interviews before, you've seen her in debates, you've seen her in public presentations. She does like one-on-one stuff on occasion, like answer one-off questions. She's capable of doing it. There's no reason to worry. So I don't know. If I were me, I just want to bulldoze out there, but that's probably the smart move. You don't want to get caught off guard with looking dumb. But what you were saying about the immigration thing reminded me of this. I saw a Fox News poll that came out today, about Harris and the Sun Belt states, and it's looking pretty good. As Harris is combined is up by 1. In Arizona, she's up by 1. Georgia, which is not a Sun Belt state. That's weird.
Yeah, that was my first thought, that I was like, Georgia and North Carolina are not Sun Belt states.
Yeah, I don't know why they're listed here, but whatever. But just say swing states if you're going to do this. But Georgia up by 2, which is huge. Nevada up by 2, and in North Carolina, she's down by 1. And I saw a breakdown of what people think or who they trust, Trump or Harris. For uniting the country, Harris. I want to talk to those 44% who think Donald Trump is the best option for uniting the country. I've got to know what is on their minds and how they think that could possibly be.
TJ, I saw a poll today that said 10% of people think that Trump is far left.
Okay.
Like, what does that mean? Who is that people?
Okay.
Like, did they just select the wrong? But 10% of people couldn't know how to answer this poll.
Man, it's like I saw a poll once that says something like 8% or 12% of people think the sun revolves around the earth. I was like, man, what the fuck? What is going on here? I was just depressing. Fighting people like you, Harris, bringing changes, Harris. Immigration and border, 57% Trump. And yeah, that's not changing anytime. So you're not going to outflank the Republicans on the we are the tough border people thing. You're not going to peel people away. Like, certainly not in August. It's too late for that. That ship has sailed. The economy, amazingly, like Trump, 53%. It bugs me so much that Republicans still to this day get crowned the economically responsible party. It's insanity that's still what's going on. Israel and Hamas, 52% Trump. Healthcare, 54% Harris, and abortion, 58% Harris. The abortion one is the highest one on here, and it's going to be the most important one in the election. So yeah, like it's smooth sailing for her as long as she keeps her head on straight and does decent in these debates.
And that's the thing with the immigration thing that I'm just like, I don't know, holding out hope beyond hope that she does plan to pivot away. Because like she is stuck in a difficult position where Republicans have built a relatively successful, an extremely successful propaganda campaign.
Yeah.
Attacking Joe Biden for immigration, and it's fucking worked. And she doesn't have time to change people's minds about that.
No.
So she kind of has to be tough on immigration. The thing is, and what you just pointed out, you're never going to beat the Republicans at this game.
Never.
You're never going to be tougher than them. It's not going to happen. There's too many racists in that party. You're not going to out-racist them. They're much better at this than us. And so why not just be the alternative? Why not present a new pathway? I have liked what the Democrats have done a lot under Kamala Harris in rebranding freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And there were several points. I think Walsh mentioned this in his speech. There's been a couple Democrats who have said it, where it's like, we are presenting an alternate plan for America. Like, this is our plan. And I think that messaging works. If you go, and they're doing it with labor, and this is the other point about the DNC that I thought was very interesting. They have become the labor party.
They're doing a really good job with that. Yep.
Very much. And if you look at, because you're like, oh, you have to like not get farther left during the election. They have gotten farther left on labor, TJ. Like and Joe Biden has been pretty darn good. Like, all of our criticism aside, he has surprisingly done really well with the NLBR. He has done many good things that are pro-labor. You see people like Sean Fain coming into the Democratic Party as a major spokesperson because of this. And they are really pushing the labor envelope. And you see the success that it's having. I saw a poll today that showed that disapproval of labor unions is the lowest it's been in like 60 years. And this is because we now have a party who is pushing this. We have people who are championing labor rights and unions in the public eye. And it works, especially when the other party is controlled by a fucking billionaire who has had many bad disputes with labor organizations. And so it works when you differentiate and set your own path. What doesn't work is just, hey, we're going to do what the Republicans are doing, but we're going to do it slightly better than them. Like that doesn't work. No one buys that. And so you just end up with this negative feedback loop where you have to keep moving right on the fucking fascist goddamn draconian issue. And it really sucks that I guess I can just say I hope that Kamala knows that and will learn the lesson, but I don't know. I don't know, TJ.
Yeah, so with the moving left, like I would say it's a good idea to move hard on labor unions, because it's hard to argue against labor unions, like because like they're terrible. Every argument that people put forth, and there's no way you can say labor unions are bad without sounding like you're shilling for the boss and for owners. And so that's a good one. Child tax credits is also another good one where you could move to the left. And but I do understand the reticence on a lot of issues because, you know, as human beings in general, we fear our losses more than we should. And Harris has like a strong last month or only month. She's had a really strong only month, and she doesn't want to do anything upset that apple cart and not take any risks. I can kind of understand that, but you ought to be smart too. And so, like, I don't know, the Palestine thing, she kind of just stayed a neutralish on that in her speech and everything. And so, yeah, it's difficult. It's because
TJ, speaking of Palestine, we're gonna have a war.
Oh, yeah. So I have one of the topics for yesterday or for tomorrow. I wrote down was the West Bank. So yeah, we got to talk about that.
I no longer really know what's gonna happen, TJ. Like, I think that Netanyahu wants a war with Iran because he wants Trump to win, and it's his only way of staying in power. And I think Biden really needs to fucking cut bait because it's gonna. I don't know. I don't know, TJ. I don't know how it plays. It's the biggest uncertainty, and I know that foreign policy doesn't really play much effect in an election, but a currently escalating war would definitely play out in November, and I don't know how, but it's going to get really bad really fast if things don't change really quickly.
Yeah. Oh, we got to. Kyle says the reason why they won't pivot on immigration is because moderates really want to restrict immigration. The right won the border for now. Hopefully she doesn't put kids in cages. Yeah, we were just discussing that, Kyle. I don't know if you saw that earlier, but the right wing, like over the last 4 years, has swayed public opinion against immigration in general, not just illegal immigration or undocumented immigration, but that they don't want it there at all.
Yeah. So I'm going to share this real quick. Hi, Heather. I'm going to share this real quick, TJ, because this is the chart I was referring to earlier. This was 2001, right? This was I don't know what the fuck happened in the early 90s to make people hate immigrants more than they did post 2001. But they really didn't fucking like them then. But then like after 2001, just kind of slow decline and an increase for acceptance of immigration, and up to 2020, like Donald Trump. You know, this is the Trump years, massive increase in incentive in wanting people wanting to increase immigration. And in 2020, for the first time, it was more than the people who wanted to decrease it. And then it just crashed for no actual reason. There was no change in immigration. There was no like massive surge that was unprecedented. I mean, that's what the news said, but they're always constantly fucking saying that, you know, like it's just that no one was championing immigrants anymore.
Yes.
And everyone was just hearing bad things about them. And Joe Biden, because he was continuing Trump era immigration policies, wasn't providing any alternative path. And so everyone just moved right, and it really sucks.
That you're right. That chart I was going to point out on that chart, it's shocking to see because you're like it had stayed like fluctuating kind of steady. 2016, like approval for immigration shot through the roof. It went the graph was crazy on that curve right there, and that was because Donald Trump came out and says we need a Muslim ban. We're going to build a wall. These are a bunch of shithole countries, and like proper media and legacy media was just, or even alternative and independent media was this constant stream of people saying, "Whoa, this is disgusting. Like this is not what the United States stands for. Like this is a nation of immigrants. We should be like give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses. This is what we taught ourselves." And every day you had this deluge of people and information talking about how evil Donald Trump was and how this policy is gross and disgusting. And it went on for 4 years, and then Trump went out. Nothing. And then you saw videos of Border Patrol riding horses and hitting Haitian immigrants with whips. And that's under Joe Biden. You saw the cages were still there. They weren't separating the families anymore.
The razor wire.
Yeah, razor wire. Yeah. And it's just like, and when the message from the Democrats is, okay, well, we're gonna do all the same thing that Trump did, but we're gonna take away the moats full of alligators and the drones with missiles on them, and that's the difference. Yeah, it's gonna just drop the Senate right back down. And the Republicans never stopped their messaging, though. They kept going. They kept doing it.
If you're just a normal person who doesn't really pay too much attention to this, and you go, well, the Republicans have been saying that this is a bad thing for a while, and I disagreed with them. But now the Democrats are also starting to put policy in place to stop the immigrants. Like, this must actually be a crisis.
There's got to be something there.
Agrees on it. And it's not. It's not. We live in this fucking pseudo reality where people think that we can't have immigrants, and it makes no fucking sense.
To the point where the Republicans had the balls to hold up those mass deportation now signs.
We're literally daring them to fucking do ethnic cleansing.
I can't. I mean, that even for them, like, I know that's what they want, but holding up signs that say mass deportation now by the hundreds is just like, it's like dystopian, man. And seeing that shit. Yeah. And they can, because the country at large has looked down on immigration now. I do like when people would ask Republicans, so are you? They never say they're anti-immigrant. They never say that. They say they're anti-illegal immigration. So then I love when people ask them, well, okay, how about we expand visas and work permits and make it easy for people to No, I don't want that. Well, at that point, it would be legal immigration, right? Say, nope, that's a bad idea. So, okay, so you actually are anti-immigration. Just stop pretending. Don't bullshit me on this. Oh, what's Kyle say here? Why people began hating immigrants was decades of xenophobic messaging around Muslims, Asians, Latin Americans. We've always had this, and the American zeitgeist, the Chinese Exclusion Act. I think John was referring to the 90s specifically, because there was a big increase in the 90s, right, John? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
The chart. I was trying to think too what that may have been.
Specific. I mean, America has always I mean, this chart again. This goes back to 1960, and there was only one period for like a year where more people wanted immigration to increase than decrease. But like this, I don't know what
early 90s. Yeah,
early 90s.
I'm trying to think what it have been too. So,
and then it's such a stark decline.
It jumped so
through the
decline, right?
I guess 80s. The 80s had high. No, that was the 70s had really high inflation. The 80s, I don't know.
Well,
I have no idea what.
The 80s is when Reagan did amnesty for several million illegal aliens. Reagan did an amnesty bill, and maybe like the resentment grew over time, and then early mid 90s. I really can't say. You know what? Conservative media. That's conservative media first started. Like, you had the Reagan Revolution in the 80s, and then you had like Rush Limbaugh became a cultural phenomenon in the early 90s, and then you had the Republicans taking control of the House in 92, 94 or whatever, and that's when like conservatives really hit their stride in the early 90s, and maybe they just brought it. I don't know. It was just
I want to put together a working theory of this.
All right, let's go.
So, and this is just reading a graph here.
Yeah, no.
But all of this increase in decrease came from people who wanted to previously keep it as is. This line stayed about the same for decades.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until this peak when you're saying, and I'm just trusting your history here because I was not born yet and obviously have no memories of this time, but like early 90s, big time, this is the radio talk shows of Rush Limbaugh. This is conservative media crescendoing and getting support for decreasing immigration among Republicans. They take control of the House in the 90s. And suddenly this becomes an issue where these people who previously wanted to keep it as is, there are probably a lot of Democrats who are like, oh, no, fuck, if the Republicans want that, we want to keep it as is again. We're against this.
Yeah.
And then 2001 happened. There was a spike, which shockingly, I'm surprised it kept going up for the increase portion. Really, this fluctuation was mostly happening with these people just going back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a steady
each other,
increase ever since 2001. Like, I don't even... And then, boom, Biden just sank that fucking ship.
Yep.
Damn. That is... I saw that chart today, and it's like, there's so much sadness in this chart. I don't even know what to do.
I think there were more non-white people coming to the United States during that time due to NAFTA, air travel, Reagan deregulating media, previous decade, etc. The spike in 2001, the spike in 2001 was due to the attacks at that time. Yeah, there was a.
I just saw that Kyle was younger because he referred to it as the attacks at that time. This historical event.
Kyle, how old are you? See if we get a shot. Yeah, man. September 2001 was a wild time, man. It was Sikhs were being Sikhs who are not Muslims, by the way. They just have turbans, and so people thought they were Muslims, and they were that's always the dead giveaway when you know someone's a fascist when they say that. I wish it was like September 12, 2001. We were all united, and we were all just united in bigotry and hatred. It was a rough experience. Kyle's not putting his age. He's gone suspiciously silent.
I don't know. Kyle, you don't have to tell us.
You don't have. We're just curious. Yeah, we're curious. Like, the fact you didn't call it September 11th, I was like, what's that? That's
yeah. TJ, what are we talking about tomorrow?
The things I want to talk about was that Israel invaded the West Bank, and which I guess Hamas is in the West Bank too. Who knew all this time? They're not
even saying that. They're just saying Muslim terror organizations. Like, it's just,
of course, yeah.
I put out a thread today, and I was just like, October 7th can no longer be used as a pretext for this genocide if they're attacking people in the West Bank.
The West Bank was always like one of our arguments too. Like, well, this is just about Hamas. Why are they doing Well, remember that time they dressed up as doctors and went into a hospital and shot a bunch of people? Yeah, it's dark shit, man.
They were literally admitting in the West Bank to blockading hospitals so that enemy combatants couldn't access them for refuge. And I was like, that's a fucking war crime. That's right there. The fucking Geneva. You're just admitting it. You're saying out loud, and we don't do anything about it. TJ. Like, what?
How many ambulances did they blow up? And in Gaza, I was like, oh, that's our mistake. That's our 9th ambulance this week. We had no idea. And the other one, I wanted to talk about the Trump Arlington Cemetery thing. I had to. I just had to talk about that.
I just only have read. I just saw like whispers about it. So I have to read more into that before tomorrow. So that works. I wanted to talk about, coincidentally, 2 French topics.
Oh, let's go. Didn't see that coming.
So I wanted to talk. Have you seen the ongoing electoral clusterfuck in France with Macron siding with the Conservatives to prevent the left-wing party that won a plurality from electing a prime minister?
I've heard of it. I've read nothing about it.
Read something because it's very fucking interesting.
Right,
there's a lot of meat on that bone for us to talk about. And the other thing, just coincidentally French again, French are just coming up big in 2024. They got the Olympics, they got a massive left-wing revolution, and we got censorship. A very interesting censorship case where the CEO of Telegram was arrested in France.
Oh, I didn't see that. Yeah, I saw that too.
For essentially not cooperating with authorities and investigations into a lot of bad criminal use cases of Telegram. And I think it's one of those things where I'm like, I can see arguments on both sides of this debate. So I wanted to talk about it. So those are my 2 things. So we got the French. We'll call it the French Revolution, and we'll call it the
French Revolution.
French Revolution. And we got the Israel and the West Bank, and we got the Arlington Cemetery. Those are our 4 topics for tomorrow. And have you reached out to EK? Because I totally forgot to reach out.
Oh, no, I didn't know.
Okay. I'm going to message EK and make sure that he's good for tomorrow.
All right.
But our guest should be EK again.
Yeah, well, we got an answer. I didn't say 9/11 for the algorithm. Oh, thank you, Kyle. If we cared about the algorithm, we say a bunch of shit all the time. But
the algorithm left us a long time ago.
Yeah, man. I was young, around 8. But my dad, mixed race, was very concerned. My sister and I would get profiled. My sister and I were white passing, so it never happened. Oh, okay, all right. Okay, so you called it, John. You called it.
There you go.
All right. All right, folks. We appreciate it, and we'll catch you tomorrow.
See you at 6:30.